morning. Good morning. Nice to see your messages, even though I don't have my spectacles with me. So I'm not completely sure what you're saying. I can kind of read still. But yes, it's interesting noticing the eyesight, decaying, degrading. It's that reminder. It's interesting the way eyesight just drops off for almost everybody in the late 40s. And then, it's a kind of reminder, not just of the failing eyesight, but of the failing everything. And an invitation on the one hand, really take good care of this body because it's sort of a one-way street, And on the other hand, it's just kind of being gracious with that, being gracious with change, being gracious with atrophy, being gracious with greying or thinning hair, changing, wrinkling, sagging skin tone. The drop off in stamina and the increase in recovery time and just all of that. In other words, it's a reminder to love being alive. No, not the idea, but really, it's a good question for all of us. To what extent do I love? And I don't mean, when we say if I love being alive, as if it's just a natural feeling that's arisen, because in this moment I feel excited or something. But no, if I say to love being alive, I mean that as a practice, an active mode in which we're caring for the process, caring for this changing body, caring for the limited time and energy and attention that I have. Where am I going to direct it? This being alive is a fucking miracle. I don't know how long it's been given to me for. So let me love this being alive. Let me make the most of this being alive. Let me use my resources, time, energy, care, skills, whatever I have of those, let me use them well. Because the amount of them I have is sort of, seeping away quite quickly. Like within a few decades at most. A few decades might seem like a long time, but hey, how quickly did the last decade go? How many more have you got? Maybe none, right? We don't know. Maybe one more, maybe two more, maybe three more, maybe four more. So, on that note, welcome to the very center of the mandala, right here. I was just reflecting this morning a little bit, actually, that because we've been using that mandala that was there at the beginning a little bit. I was reflecting on, well, if I say, you're right here in the center of everything, what do we understand by that? We might understand it in a physical sense. Okay, physical reality sort of stretches out in all directions from right here. That's true, right? Just perceptually, that's true. That's true that you are always at the very center of the universe. You can't be at the edge of the universe. Right? In fact, the only place you could really describe your location, given if we have a sense of just the physical universe is sort of infinite, well, you can only be at the center of it. Right? But what's important is perceptually. It's like you let yourself be, not kind of rationally, not in a measured sense. Well, actually, maybe it's not exactly the center because no. We're not talking about space and time, really. We're talking about perception and consciousness. So, just take that let myself be, right, experientially, let myself be at the centre of everything. Sounds self-centred, doesn't it? But we're not talking about self being at the centre, far from it. Right? We're actually talking about attention entering into where it anyway naturally is, right here in consciousness. And then we say, just let us feel, just let yourself feel the sense of being, your attention being at the centre of consciousness. That means letting yourself feel consciousness. What's it like? Just to feel that you're conscious, to feel that the medium of experience, the place where everything happens, is consciousness. Oh yeah, I'm here in the centre of everything. And then everything, means everything that's present, right? Here in the feeling of body, here in the midst of sounds, here in the appearance of thoughts, etc. Yeah, here in the midst of everything, here in the midst of consciousness, in the midst of all that's present. And yet we could equally add to that, here in the midst of all that's not present. Here in the midst of all of absence. It's a little subtler, right? It's harder to grasp because we can't grasp what is absent. Maybe we can grasp it rather as the sense we're here in the midst of all potential. All potential experience is right here. I wonder, just, if it doesn't make sense, it's fine, leave it aside, but is there any sense of here in the midst of all potential? What does the potential of consciousness feel like? All potential also means all past and all future. It's also a little subtle. We may not have a sense of how can all the past be here and all the future. The past is gone and the future hasn't yet arisen. It's kind of true. The past is gone. You can't recapture the past. But where does the past appear? If I ask you now for a memory of just yesterday, right? Memory of yesterday's meditation, or the memory of yesterday's lunch. You say, well, yesterday's lunch is gone. You can't re-have yesterday's lunch, it's gone. And yet, if I just say yesterday's lunch, and the memory of what did I have for lunch appeared, oh, suddenly it's here. It just arose out of the potential. Where was the thought of yesterday's lunch before I said yesterday's lunch? Where was it? It was nowhere. It wasn't like it was somewhere. Was it lodged in your brain somewhere, waiting for me to call it out? No. So it's like if you think, it's all your consciousness is charged with everything that you're not thinking about in some way. Except you can't find it. You can't find something you're not thinking about. You can't find the unarisen. It's just there as potential. And if I say the house you lived in when you were 6 years old, like where was that before? And yet suddenly now, oh, the memory of that house, the image of that house, maybe the smell of that house, I don't know, maybe, the associations with experiences, oh. And of course, if I led you further into that, being 6 years old, the house you lived in, etc., your siblings or whoever might have been there, oh, it all starts to come forward. Memory, image, story, feeling, right? Emotional touch. Wow. But where was it before we evoked it? So that's sort of what I mean about we're sitting in the midst of not just what is present, what I can feel, what I can hear, right, what I can notice, but we're also sitting in the midst of the potential of everything I haven't noticed. We're sitting in the midst of everything we've lived through and have forgotten. We're also sitting in the midst of everything that will come for us. We're sitting in the midst of life and death, comings and goings, appearances and disappearances and non-appearances. So I don't know if that helps you to orientate, right? If it does, just including that sense of, oh yeah, the feel, the texture of potential, the texture of everything that's present and the texture of everything that's absent. If it's helpful, just sort of let that be your seat. Your seat in the midst of everything and nothing, the arisen and the unarisen. And if it's not helpful, just, feeling of body, feeling of breath. Just, it's totally fine to just orientate to that which is present. Don't need to look beyond that which is present, right? Not at all. But it's just to add that dimension if it's helpful, that which is present and that which is not present. And if that's confusing or you have questions about it, I know it's a little bit mysterious as a dimension, so I'm not sure I'll be able to necessarily provide answers, but you can certainly ask about it at the end of the sitting. Meanwhile, here we are. Take your seat. Right here. Right here. That's not an idea. It's an orientation into the heart of life. It's an invitation to sense, to settle. To be right where we are like this. It's like this that we practice together. So sitting and settling, entering into the feel of breathing body as a sense of home or reference point. And as we evoke that sense of being in the center of everything, you might just check, where is your attention mostly gathered, like just in the body field? Does it mostly seem to be in or around your head, for example? Or in and around your chest, or in and around your belly? very used to our head being the centre of things, because that's where our eyes are and our ears are. And we get a lot of sensory stimulation in our head. But if you really want to get a deeper felt sense of centre, the centre of everything, and just keep letting your attention drop down, drain down, soften down, relax down into your belly, your lower belly. Let your lower belly be the center of the mandala, the center of your attention, the center of awareness. And for that, you want your belly to be soft, round, let your breath come from down in your belly. Not through forcing or trying, but through relaxing and allowing. relax. You don't have to do anything in order to be here. In order to be right in the center of everything. And relaxing and sensing and letting go of habitual impulses and ignoring the background noise of thought. Meditation becomes a natural state, effortless, immediate, vast. Free. Leaving everything alone. letting everything arise and pass freely. Coming home to the awareness in the center of everything. The awareness that pervades everything. The awareness that reveals everything. Don't fuss with your experience. Just for this meditation time, nothing to understand, nothing to fix, nothing to attain, nothing to deny. Nothing to get rid of. Nothing to do. Just for this meditation time, allowing the possibility that you're already where you've spent your life longing to be. Right here in the midst of life's embrace. presence. Non-clinging. Awareness and relaxation. Loving being here. You don't have to like being here. If there's some discomfort or difficulty, yet you can still love being here. Right? Love is an orientation, a choice, a practice to love this moment, to care for this arising and passing. To tend to whatever shows up, whatever passes by. Loving and letting go. Just like this. May we commit wholeheartedly to ourselves and to everything. May we commit to our practices which bring us to the center of things, or rather reveal that we're already at the center of everything. May our practices transform our lives and our understanding and our hearts unimaginably. May our lives then be the natural expression, the liberated expression of the unimaginable, the unoriginated, the vast, the free, the unborn, the undying, the unconditioned. Nirvana. All right. That was meditation. there's a few comments about sound being low. Sound settings are the same as every day, and I don't know how that, they're fine for some, not so much for others. But they're the same here every day, every single day, and all the readouts I've got suggest that everything is fine with sound. So that's all I can say. A few things. There's time for questions, but a few things before that. One, if you're not already sick of me, I'll be back again tomorrow, leading a day of practice called For the Love of the Dharma. And there'll be just some sense of, sometimes we can orientate to practice. I thought this might be a good theme for the beginning of the year. Can orientate to practice out of some sense of, it's this thing, it's good for me, I should do it. And when you make, especially meditation, when you make meditation into a chore, it's very difficult to be carried along by the love of it. And so we'll just be orientating to that sense of the love of practicing and ways of remembering that which we love in it all. Anyway, come along and see. George has just put the link there. Thank you. Another thing is, I saw there's quite a lot of you in Paris here, and I'll be doing a few things in Paris in the first part of this year. I'm leading 2 days of practice for Terre d'Éveil on the 24th and 25th, I think, of this month. So if you'd like to come along for one or both of those days, then please do. I can't remember where it is, in the CZM maybe. Anyway, you can find on the website of Terre d'Éveil, or what's their website? Is it terredéveil.quelque chose, or is it vipassana.fr, I think. So anyway, those of you who are in Paris or near Paris, or want to come to Paris for the weekend, please feel free to come along and join me. And I'll also start doing some of my pop-up Dharma sessions in Paris. I might wait till the weather gets a little warmer. But if you connect with me on Instagram, at Martin Aylward, then you'll see that's where I announce those things. And basically I do them in the Square Anvers, which is at the top of my road in Paris. And they're very ad hoc. We just show up. People bring a cushion. We sit together. There's no organization. There's no registration. There's no charge. There's just like gathering together, just, meeting one another, having some practice together. And the brilliant thing, actually, of just sitting in the midst of the life. We can hear the dustbin lorries emptying the trash and the kids' playground next door. And it's just like full of life and that sense of really just present, awake, open, sensitive, very much in the midst of all this life of the city. So, and is that Ronnie saying it will be online too? Oh, that's true. So I think it will. The thing with Terre d'Éveil will also be online. It will be in French. I should mention that. So you're welcome to participate. Mais c'est en français, donc c'est pour les francophones. Voilà. All right. So then there's time for questions, and before getting to those, just the daily reminder. But as it's the end of the week, the warm encouragement and reminder that all this is possible because of goodwill, generosity, and dharma. And I know that some of you are, anyway, that's just an active part. Some of you have some kind of recurring dharma offering that's already set up to support Sangha Life. Thank you. Some of you have a recurring dharma and then also offer, from time to time when the possibility is there, or when you feel moved to, or maybe when you're reminded to, or something. Thank you. And then maybe that you're very new here, and it's like, oh, hold on, I'm just getting used to things, and they're already asking me for money. No need. Wait till you get used to things. The idea is dharma comes forth when we feel a sense of appreciation and gratitude. Oh yeah, I'm actually feel very supported by this. And therefore, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to the heart. I want to offer some support in return. And yet it also might be that you might find, just because it can be a habit, right, that we sort of engage a bit passively, and we sort of, it's like, oh yeah, the Dharma, it is a good idea, I'll get round to it sometime, maybe, but then, we don't make that step. Sometimes just might have difficult financial situation right now, or sometimes just we can get a bit tight around money, right? So the encouragement isn't to stress you around money, or but it may be that it's really, the encouragement is to reflect on that sense of appreciation and support, and see how you can reciprocate with that. Maybe that the dana you offer seems to you to be a very modest amount, and please don't let that get in the way. That's the main point I try to emphasize with Dharma. There's goodness in it, right? There's goodness in the being supported. Can you feel that? Do you feel supported? Oh, take it in. There's the goodness of being supported. And there's also a lot of goodness in being able to support, right? Oh, it's good to be able to support. I mentioned the other day, Buddha talks about this three kinds of goodness in supporting, right? The happiness that arises in recognizing, oh, I can support, and the happiness that arises in the act of supporting, and the happiness that arises in knowing one has supported that which one values, right? Supporting that which seems worthy of support. Because you're supporting me directly, and you're also supporting the whole platform, right? And you're also then supporting everybody who comes along here, everybody who then will be able to keep coming along here, right? Because all of us, we can only keep coming along here if there's enough support to sort of keep the lights on, as it were. And as I've said, frequently, and particularly the last few months, the finances are quite precarious at Sangha Life. So mostly I want to say thank you for your support. And in the process of thanking you for your support, there's a kind of a reminder, an encouragement, and the appreciation for you offering support. Thank you. And here's the link in the chat from George with his impeccable timing. All right, let's have a look at what questions might be there. Luke says, I think this is from yesterday, the locus of my awareness remains predominantly in my head area, which feels like an overly narrow focus. Is that inevitable? It's not inevitable, Luke. It is common and understandable. Actually, I mentioned that in the meditation, right? Sense organs are all stuck on here. So, and it's energetically, the head is the center of cognitive or discursive activity. So you've got seeing and hearing and smelling and speaking and tasting and thinking. It's all things like it's going on energetically here. So that's why we tend to be a little busy or overstimulated or sort of energetically sort of pulled to here. So yes, it's absolutely normal that seems to be the case. And it's not, it takes a little bit of training, but it's totally possible, right? To actually train your attention to keep, like I said in the meditation, like just keep softening, draining down, dropping down into your lower belly. That means below your navel, like the lowest place that you can have a sense of softening in the belly. And also that's then the lowest place that you can feel the expansion and contraction, or the swelling and the softening of breathing. And what you'll find probably at the beginning is the more you take your attention, oh yeah, okay, and it just keeps bouncing back up. So you just keep it your attention bounces back up, you soften your attention back down, and it bounces back up, and you soften it back down. Just do that a few hundred times, a few thousand times, a few million times, I don't know. But you just do that, and it then becomes the home of awareness. In sitting, in moving around, it's like we're meeting life from on the one hand, we could say a lower sense or a deeper sense of awareness, but it's not really that it's not that narrow. First of all, it feels like I'm just going from head down to belly, but belly ends up feeling like the mandala, right? So if I just put that mandala up, this is the energetic sense of belly, like centered in the belly, but also wide, expansive. I might just do that because I like the fade in, fade out effect, of course. But you see that sense of like, and I wonder, even if you're listening now, if you can have a sense of being in your belly, right? Just like we said in the meditation, in the center of things, but a center that is sort of diffuse, open, expansive. 1,000-petaled lotus. All right. Wolfgang. Oh, it's in the questions comment, but thank you. Wolfgang has written the email address for info on the retreat in Bodh Gaya that we spoke about yesterday, which is happening in March. Thanks, Wolfgang. Judith says, I'm interested in the relationship between consciousness and what we know from cognitive science about memory. You talked about where thoughts come from. I don't know much about cognitive science, Judith. And I don't mean to be dismissive of it when I say that, but it's just personally my interest has always been in the kind of immediately subjective rather than the objective. And that, of course, we learn a lot. I mean, our world and the brilliance of our world. Okay, never mind the dysfunction of our world, but the brilliance of our human-made stuff, comes in very much from objective measurement and study, right? So that's great for those for whom that's their sphere of activity. But my own sense is, however much I know about my mind and I study and I understand in theory what's happening cognitively, it just doesn't make the transformative difference for me. Whereas a kind of subjective, actually studying it phenomenologically, right, experientially, studying the mind in the mind as the mind is revealing itself. That's always, for me, that's where the potency is. If then that maps on to what cognitive science says, great. And when it doesn't map, I don't mind. I'm a lover of the immediately subjective, and if that goes along with the sort of the empirical and objective, okay, and if it doesn't, tant pis. So I'm not sure if that's any kind of answer to your question, but if you find yourself interested in the cognitive science and what it knows and says about memory, then wonderful. And of course, sometimes it can be very interesting to see the mapping between one and the other. But I don't know much about what cognitive science has to say about memory. But I do know that we can enter very directly into the mystery of the way memories appear. And it's fascinating, and it's mysterious. And yet, like we were seeing and saying at the beginning of the session, we can know something, not so much about brain function and memory, but we can know something about the way past and present and future present themselves in one way to our everyday mind, and yet actually reveal something else about the more fluid or interrelated nature of time and space. In the way memory actually appears. Okay, can you say something about sticky thoughts on the topic of, I am anxious because I have to navigate a situation correctly, which involves other people's emotions, but I do not know what the correct way is. I would encourage you to abandon the idea of correct. As soon as I saw that, I am anxious because I have to navigate a situation correctly. Oof. Correctly. Where does the word correctly come from? Sounds like it may have come from some sort of parental imprint or school imprint. I would suggest maybe you don't have to do it correctly. Maybe you want to, and this is a beautiful thing, you want to navigate the situation what? Wisely, sensitively, with care for yourself and others. So if that's true, then orientate to wisdom and sensitivity, a kind of deep listening, going slowly and gently, right? Taking care of whatever concerns might arise. If you say you feel anxious about it, I'm anxious, I've got to do it correctly, I imagine that gives rise to some tension, right? Oh, feel the tension, care for it so that it can soften. If you meet a situation and you're tensed against it and you're anxious about doing it correctly, of course that makes it harder to navigate wisely and sensitively and lovingly, right? So caring, so attending to that overlay, and that's an important way of then being able to meet it more kindly. So just give some real attention to the idea of correct that you have, that that word appears twice in your little paragraph. I've got to do it correctly. I've got to find the correct way. And it might sound just sort of semantics, like I'm picking at the language, and I don't know, right? Because it would be different if I could ask you questions and hear a little more from you directly. But yeah, I wonder just now, if you just weigh out the difference between I've got to do it correctly, right? I have to navigate the situation correctly. That's your exact phrase. And compare it with I want to meet this situation wisely, sensitively, compassionately. All right, look at that. Did we just get through all the questions? I think we did. Let me come back to the comments and see. Oh, well, I'll do it anyway. It's top of the hour. So, friends, that was our week of practice together. Thank you for sharing it with me. Really, I really appreciate your practice and your presence and your good heart and your comments and your questions and your support for one another in the chat. What good fortune to meet together in the midst of the particularly, in a week where the world has seemed particularly mad. I mean, yeah, the world is many, many things, of course, not just mad, but to look at the news feeds, one is very much confronted by the madness of the world. And yeah, it's such a helpful counterpoint to the madness of the world to meet together in a spirit of sanity, presence, care, sensitivity. So I'm very much appreciative of our good, collectively, of our good fortune to meet together like this. Thank you, George. Thank you, everyone. Maybe see you tomorrow for the day of practice. I'm going to play you